Have you ever felt like someone close to you is slowly draining your energy? Not with loud arguments, not with obvious betrayal, but with something quieter, comments, glances, tones, a constant hum of disapproval. You start to second-guess yourself, shrink a little more with each interaction, until one day you wake up and realize you've become a version of yourself that's constantly apologizing. That's what the constant critic does to your soul. That day may be someone in your family, a friend, a partner, or even someone at work. On the surface, they might seem like they mean well. They tell you they're just being honest or giving a constructive feedback. But what they're really doing is using criticism to keep you small, to make sure you don't rise too far, dream too big, or feel too good about yourself. Every word becomes a weight. You really think you can do that? That's not realistic. Or too sensitive. Don't get ahead of yourself. At first, you try to reason with them. You explain your side, defend your choices, maybe even ask for support, but it doesn't change. The criticism doesn't come from a place of love. It comes from control, insecurity, or projection. And here's the truth. Not all advice is wisdom. Not all opinions deserve a seat at your table. You can't thrive in an environment that's constantly picking you apart. Imagine planting a seed in soil that whispers every day, "You're not going to grow." That seed would rot before it ever sees the sun. That's what the constant critic does to your dreams, to your self-belief. But here's where you take your power back. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to win the argument. You don't even need to prove them wrong. You just need to stop giving them the microphone. Because not every voice is worthy of your ears, especially the one that makes you doubt your own. If someone is always pointing out your flaws but never your strengths, that's not guidance. That's erosion. That if someone only shows up when you're down to remind you how far you've fallen, that's not care, that's control. The constant critic wants to shape your reality, keep you questioning yourself so you never realize just how powerful you really are. So here's your shift. Their criticism is not your truth. Their doubt is not your destiny. You were not made to live life second-guessing every step. You were made to walk with boldness, to make mistakes and learn loudly, to grow and rise without asking for permission. You don't need their approval to validate your journey. You don't need their praise to make your progress real. You need peace. You need clarity. You need space. So start with this. Limit their access. Protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Speak life over yourself. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your strength, not your shortcomings. Choose silence over sarcasm. Choose truth over constant correction. And most of all, they'll choose you, because your dreams are not up for debate. Your growth is not a group project. Your light does not need permission to shine. You're not here to live under someone's microscope. You're here to rise. The voices around you become the thoughts inside you. So choose voices that build, not break. That elevate, not erode. Let the critics talk, but let your life be louder. You know the type, every time you talk to them, they're in crisis. Everything is always going wrong. Someone's always hurting them. Life is never fair. And at first, you feel empathy. You want to help. You want to be there. You offer advice, encouragement, maybe even financial support. But it never ends. That's the trap, because the victim doesn't want to get better. They want attention. They don't want solutions. They want sympathy. And if you're not careful, you become their emotional crutch. You become the one carrying their pain while your own dreams collect dust. They will always have a new excuse, a new reason they can't grow, a new villain to blame. And if you dare to pull back, even for your own well-being, they'll guilt trip you. They'll say things like, "I guess I'm just too much for people. No one ever stays. You don't care about me anymore." But here's the reality. You can't save someone who's committed to staying stuck, and it's not your job to fix them. You are not a therapist. You are not their lifeboat. You are not here to lose yourself trying to carry someone who refuses to walk. When you constantly pour into someone who never changes, you start to drown with them. Slowly, quietly, emotionally, you become so focused on their storms that you forget your own sky was meant to be clear. It's hard, especially when it's someone you love. A friend, a sibling, a partner. You want to believe they'll get better. You want to believe your support is helping, but enabling is not the same as loving. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back, let them face their patterns, let them meet their pain, let them figure it out. That doesn't mean abandoning them. It means choosing your peace over constant chaos. And hear this clearly, guilt is not the same as responsibility. Feeling bad for someone doesn't mean you owe them your time, your energy, or your emotional bandwidth. You are not responsible for the healing of people who won't even pick up the tools. You've got a life to build, a purpose to walk in, dreams to chase. You can't do that if you're always tangled up in someone else's drama. Here's your shift. Compassion does not require sacrifice. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well without walking into their fire. You can offer encouragement without becoming their therapist. Stop carrying weights that were never yours. Stop being the emotional sponge for people who refuse to grow. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the need to rescue. And remind yourself, you were not made to fix broken people. You were made to rise. So rise. Clear the space. Take your energy back. Because the more time you spend trying to lift someone who doesn't want to stand, the longer you delay your own journey. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't owe anyone your self-neglect. You owe yourself your fullest life. And you can't build that life while dragging someone else's chaos behind you. Protect your path. Love from a distance and walk forward unapologetically. Some people take from you without ever touching your wallet. They rob your energy, your attention, your time, and worst of all, your sense of self. This is the narcissist. They're charming at first, captivating. They know how to draw you in with compliments, promises, and attention. But over time, it becomes clear it's never about you. It's always about them. Their needs, their problems, their success, their pain. You become a background character in the story of their life, and the longer you stay, the more invisible you feel. Have you ever been around someone who made you question your worth just by ignoring your wins? Someone who shifts every conversation back to themselves, who makes your feelings feel like a burden but expects you to always care about theirs. That's what narcissists do. They feed on admiration. They depend on control, and when you stop giving them what they want, attention, validation, obedience, they flip the script. Suddenly, you're the problem. You're too sensitive, too selfish, too dramatic. But here's the truth. You're not too much. They're just too little to handle your truth. Narcissists don't love you. They love what you give them. Your attention, your loyalty, your forgiveness. They want to be worshipped, not understood. And when you start to wake up and see the pattern, they'll either punish you with silence or smother you with guilt. They manipulate with words like, wonder everything I've done for you? No one else would put up with you, but will regret this, but you won't. Because the moment you break free from a narcissist's grip is the moment you remember your worth. You deserve relationships that are mutual, not one-sided. You deserve to be heard, not just seen when it's convenient for someone else. You deserve someone who celebrates your light instead of dimming it to make theirs look brighter. Here's the mindset shift. Love should not cost you your identity. If you have to shrink, silence yourself, or walk on eggshells to keep the peace, that's not love, that's survival. And you weren't born to survive relationships. You were born to thrive in them. Narcissists will have you believing that setting boundaries is betrayal, that standing up for yourself is being cruel, that choosing your well-being is selfish, but it's not. It's powerful. When you finally say, this is not okay, they might call you disloyal. Let them, when you finally pull back and protect your energy, they might say you've changed. You're supposed to, because real growth looks like refusing to be someone's emotional puppet. It looks like choosing peace over performance. It looks like walking away from people who only love you on their terms. You are not here to orbit around someone else's ego. You are not here to sacrifice your joy for someone's validation addiction. You are here to be seen, heard, valued, and free. So set the boundary. Stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. Let go of the need to be understood by those who refuse to see past their own reflection. The people meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself. And the longer you stay in the orbit of someone who sees you as a mirror, not a person, the longer you delay the life you were meant to live. So reclaim your space. Reclaim your energy. Reclaim your voice. Because your light doesn't have to compete. It just has to shine unapologetically, fully, and free. Have you ever shared your dream with someone only to have them turn it into a contest? You talk about your goals, your passions, your vision for the future, and suddenly it's like you've entered a race and this person is already sizing you up, comparing themselves to you and making it all about who's better. This is the competitor. They don't cheer you on. They don't genuinely celebrate your wins. Instead, they make every conversation feel like a competition. Even when you share something that excites you, they find a way to twist it into a personal reflection of how they're doing better, bigger, or faster, Tapo. You're writing a book. That's cute. I've been working on mine for years. You finally landed that job? Well, I've been looking at something even bigger. You're going to the gym? I've been training for months, you know. At first, you might chalk it up to healthy ambition. Maybe they're just motivated. Maybe they're just driven. But the longer you're around them, the clearer it becomes they don't want to see you succeed. They want to outshine you. They want to feel superior. And that's a toxic dynamic. True success doesn't need competition. True success thrives in an environment of collaboration, mutual support, and growth. But when you're constantly around someone who views every accomplishment as a personal challenge, it leaves you drained, frustrated, and questioning your own worth. The competitor thrives on comparison. They'll make you doubt your progress by comparing your journey to theirs. They'll make you feel like you're always behind, like you need to prove yourself. But here's the truth. Your success is not a race. It's a unique journey. What you accomplish is not determined by how quickly or how loudly someone else is moving. Your value is not measured by your position in someone else's race. It's measured by how aligned you are with your own purpose, how persistent you are in the face of challenges, and how unapologetic you are about your path. Here's the mindset shift. Success is abundant. It's not a limited resource. Just because someone else is succeeding doesn't mean your chances are diminishing. There's enough for everyone. Your wins do not take away from someone else's potential for greatness. The only thing that makes success scarce is the mindset that there's not enough to go around. So how do you handle the competitor? How do you deal with someone who turns your journey into their personal contest? You stop playing their game. You stop measuring your success based on their scoreboard. You stop shrinking yourself to make space for their ego. Instead, you start seeing success for what it truly is, a personal, individual journey. A reflection of your hard work, your resilience, and your unique gifts. It's not about beating anyone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. True winners know this. The only person you're in competition with is the person you were yesterday. When you start seeing success as a personal growth experience, the noise around you becomes irrelevant. The comparisons become meaningless because you know your worth and you trust your process. So stop worrying about who's ahead. Stop stressing about who's faster or stronger or louder. Focus on you. Keep your eyes on your path, your goals, and your heart. You are not in competition with anyone. You are in competition with who you were yesterday. And that's the only race that matters. We've all encountered them, the ones who can't wait to share someone else's business. They thrive on drama, they feed off rumors, and they spread stories like wildfire. But what's even worse, the people who don't just talk about others, but enable the gossip by listening, fueling, and spreading it further. Together, they form a toxic duo. The gossiper and the enabler. First, let's talk about the gossiper. It's always about what someone else did wrong, who's struggling, or who's making mistakes. They are the ones who can't have a conversation without mentioning someone else's flaws. They're the ones who have the latest inside scoop about everyone around them. They'll come to you with stories about friends, family, or coworkers, always with a tone that implies judgment, superiority, or even mockery. But here's the thing, gossip is not about the other person. It's about insecurity. The gossipers need to tear others down stems from their inability to build themselves up. They use others' faults to mask their own weaknesses. By bringing people down, they try to feel higher. But the truth is, they're only bringing themselves lower, showing their true character in the process. What makes it worse is when someone else, the enabler, gives them the attention they crave. The enabler is the person who sits back and listens, nodding along, perhaps adding their own thoughts or judgments. They don't challenge the gossip. They don't stop it. Instead, they encourage it, letting it fester and grow. They may say things like, "Wow, I can't believe they did that. That's crazy, I heard the same thing. Did you hear about so-and-so?" Its words don't just entertain the gossiper, they feed them. And before long, the toxic energy spreads. The enabler may even act like they're doing a favor by being a safe space for the gossip to land. But here's the reality. They are complicit in the toxicity. By allowing the gossip to continue, they are helping it thrive. But here's what you need to understand. Gossip destroys. It destroys trust. It destroys relationships. It destroys peace. And once it's out there, it's hard to undo the damage. Whether it's a small rumor or a full-on smear campaign, once words are spoken, they can never be taken back. And the people who enable that process, whether by listening, laughing, or spreading, are just as harmful as those who gossip in the first place. If you want peace, if you want to protect your energy, you have to get rid of both. The gossiper and the enabler aren't just toxic, they're dangerous. They poison your environment, they poison your thoughts, and ultimately, they poison your ability to trust. So how do you deal with them? Set boundaries. When someone starts gossiping around you, call it out. Quietly but firmly. Let them know that you don't engage in that kind of talk. And if the enabler is present, don't let them sit quietly. Encourage them to speak up. Silence isn't neutrality, it's complicity. Here's the hard truth. You can't change people who refuse to change, but you can control your response. You can decide whether you want to participate in that energy. You can choose to protect your peace by walking away from conversations that only serve to lower your vibration. Now remember this, gossip is an energy drain. It doesn't matter how juicy the story is or how entertaining it may sound. It's not worth your mental or emotional investment. When you stop engaging with gossip, you stop letting it have power over you. You stop letting it shape your perception of others, and you stop letting it control your relationships. So walk away from those who gossip and walk away from those who enable it. They don't need your attention. They don't need your energy. They don't need your approval. What they need is to face the truth that gossip is a reflection of their own unhappiness. And you don't have to be a part of that. Now, the final toxic person on our list might just be the most draining of them all, the one who leaves you feeling completely exhausted, even after a brief interaction. This is the energy vampire that you've probably experienced them at some point in your life. They show up and suddenly everything you've got is sucked out of you. They drain your optimism, they drain your focus, they drain your enthusiasm. And it doesn't matter how strong, how positive, or how ready you are to face the world, you leave them feeling depleted, weighed down, and ready to collapse. What makes them so toxic? It's the constant emotional drain. The energy vampire is never satisfied with their own life and is constantly seeking to feed off of yours. They are perpetual complainers, chronic talkers, and emotional leeches. They might come to you with a seemingly small problem, a tough week. But before you know it, they've hijacked your time, your thoughts, and your spirit, and it's not always obvious. At first, it may even seem like they're just in need of help or someone to talk to. Maybe you offer a listening ear, some words of encouragement, or a little advice, but every time you do, they latch onto you like a magnet, pulling you deeper into their emotional swamp. You try to help, you try to give, but it's never enough. No matter how much energy you pour into them, they just keep taking. And the moment you try to focus on yourself, they start to make you feel guilty. Oh, you don't care about me anymore. You're always too busy. I don't know what I'd do without you. These manipulative statements are their way of keeping you trapped. They don't want your solutions. They just want your energy. And if you're not careful, you can get so caught up in their drama that you forget to take care of yourself. Your needs, your dreams, your mental health, all of that gets pushed aside as you focus on solving the never-ending cycle of problems. Here's the painful truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. You may want to help. You may feel bad for them. You may think that if you just give a little more of your time, your support, or your care, they'll eventually change. But that's the lie. The energy vampire isn't interested in healing. They're not interested in growing. They're only interested in draining you. The problem is you don't have an infinite supply. You don't have unlimited emotional resources. Your energy is precious. And every time you give it away to someone who doesn't respect it, you deplete yourself. Eventually, you're left with nothing but exhaustion and maybe even resentment. So what do? How do you protect yourself from the energy vampire first? Set boundaries, strong ones. Recognize when someone is taking more than they're giving. It's not selfish to protect your own well-being. It's necessary. And it's okay to tell someone that you need space. It's okay to walk away from draining conversations, even if it feels uncomfortable. Second, stop enabling. If you've been someone's emotional crutch for a while, it's time to break the pattern. You don't have to answer every call, respond to every message, or solve every problem. It's not your responsibility to carry someone else's emotional weight. If they're constantly in crisis, that's their problem to solve, not yours. Third, refocus on your own energy. Start paying attention to how you feel after interacting with certain people. If you feel drained, anxious, or upset, that's a sign that the relationship is toxic. You don't need to feel guilty for protecting your peace. You don't need to feel obligated to give someone your time if it leaves you empty. Lastly, remember this. You deserve to be surrounded by people who lift you up, not drain you down. You deserve relationships that are reciprocal. You deserve to be around people who encourage your growth, who match your energy, and who help you build your dream. So here's your challenge. Start protecting your energy like it's the most valuable thing you have, because it is. Your time, your emotional health, and your mental clarity are the foundation for everything else in your life. If you give them away to people who drain you, you're not only compromising your well-being, you're sabotaging your own potential. The energy vampires go. Let them find someone else to feed off of. Your life is too precious to waste on people who don't respect your energy. You are meant for greatness. You are meant for peace. You are meant for a life that's full, vibrant, and aligned with your purpose. But that won't happen until you start protecting your energy with the same intensity that you protect your dreams. It's time to say no to the energy vampire. It's time to take back your power.